Hello, welcome to this slightly unusual video, and it's only unusual because I've decided to paint this picture with World Autism Awareness Day in mind. And I've done it because autism does affect me quite a lot. I have two sons with an autism diagnosis, plus very late in life I was also diagnosed. I found it quite difficult to decide what to paint, but in the end I went with Dartmoor, which is just about my favourite place in England. And if only I could experience Dartmoor completely on my own, like the figure I've added. The other place I like being alone is a deep forest, but Dartmoor really is stunning. While I like being on my own a lot, I still very much need people, and I do like to socialise. But socialising and other people take a lot of energy out of me, so I need that alone time to recover and recharge the battery. And while alone, hobbies become important. I don't ever remember a time without a hobby. The first one I remember is plastic airfix kits, in particular aeroplanes. I was fascinated by airplanes, still am to a certain degree, although now all my spare time is taken up painting. Probably something like 20 hours a week, but it really does help relieve all the stress and anxiety of being out there in the real world. Well, not so much out there in the real world, because I'm perfectly happy to do that when there's no one else around. But when there's people involved, my brain is on high alert, being bombarded with multiple stimuluses or stimuli, which contributes to the exhaustion factor. And that has a lot to do with interacting with people not coming naturally. I have to really work hard at fitting in and not being noticed. I think that's generally called masking, and it takes a lot of brain energy. Just imagine being in a pub with your friends and it'd be like you having to take an algebra test all the time you're there, trying to think of something to say that fits in with the conversation, and often when you have, the conversation's moved on anyway. It's slightly unfortunate that being autistic is often described as being on the spectrum. We've often seen autism as a spectrum, so it's a kind of scale where you get worse and worse and worse. But it's really not like that. It's more a case of listing a load of skills, and if you're autistic, you can either be extremely good at that skill or extremely bad. There's not often any middle ground. Remembering back at my school days a long time ago, I was either somewhere near the top of the class or the bottom, and that was it. Never middle ground. And this is what makes no two autistic people the same. There's a few skills that are universally bad, social skills being the main one, but most of the other ones, who knows whether you're going to be brilliant at it or appalling. I'd really like to know why that happens. Very curious. So, why do I paint what I paint in the style that I paint? A question no one asked. If you've seen any of the other 100 or so videos I've done, I like to paint as realistic as possible and in fine detail. And that's because detail is all I see. I've worked hard to try and learn composition and light to make a pleasing overall picture, but that's been hard work, as it's the detail I'm really interested in. If I go into a gallery, I'll look around the room, see a painting that attracts my attention, then I'll practically put my nose on it. I want to see the brushstrokes up close and how accurate all the detail is. Plus, I love learning techniques, so I'll read art magazines, art books, lots of other YouTube channels, always looking for techniques to help you represent the fine detail of the real world in as quick a way as possible. And all the fun in painting for me is learning those techniques and practicing them. Once a painting's actually finished, I immediately lose interest in it and often forget I ever painted it. So, on this World Autism Awareness Day, if you could just spare a thought to the hundreds and thousands of us out there with autism, and just be aware of the difficulties we might be having with things you yourself couldn't imagine would be a problem. Things like giving us a little longer to reply to a question, as probably 10 answers are being analysed at the same time, and repeating the question would reset the process. Please be aware We're very bad at interviews, but potentially very good at the job. Lying takes a lot of social skills, so we rarely attempt it. If we're not looking at you directly, it's not because we're not interested, it's because we're trying to cut out extra stimulus and focus on what you're saying. Thank you very much for listening. I really appreciate it, and I hope to see you on the next video. Bye.